Overcome by a deep weariness, I decided to leave the possums for the morning, and after lighting the entire candelabra, I climbed the stairs once again. I passed Elizabeth's room and Carolyn's before arriving at my own. The door was closed but not locked, and I walked into a veil of memories. The room was stuffy from a lack of use, but my bed and dressing table, they were still there. My closet, many of my clothes, my chair by the window, and all my books. And as unbelievable as it seemed, they had kept them for me. Tears sprang to my eyes at the thought of so much trust and generosity that I didn't deserve. There was even a folded nightgown in my dresser drawer. After undressing, I went to the window, drew back the curtain, and opened the sash to the cold night air. The moon had risen, but was shrouded by a thick fog that rolled in from the sea. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the girl in the white dress, running through the tall grass. But she rounded the house and disappeared. I decided it must have been a trick of the moonlight. Feeling some trepidation, I locked my door and slid a chair under the knob. I crawled under the sheets, smelling the odor of attics and linens left in trunks, and my mind flooded with thoughts of my time as a governess caring for David. I smiled, remembering his tricks, the time he dressed up in a sheet pretending to be a ghost. In fact, he had hidden many times in that very closet at the foot of my bed, only to come leaping out with a great boom, hoping it was child's spitefulness to give me a heart attack. Once he had feigned his own hanging from the closet pole, and I opened the door looking for a jacket, only to discover his body dangling and swaying, his tongue thrust out from his mouth, and his eyes bulging in imitation of death. With this image in my mind, I fell into a fitful sleep and woke to see the window's white curtains rising and falling in the moonlight. I had the sense that someone was in the room. I heard a sound, a sigh, and a moan, and standing at the foot of my bed was the girl in the white dress. Her hair was long and dark, and her bare arms reached out to me in a beseeching manner. Her eyes shone like slivers of silver. I held my breath and didn't move, certain that she was a ghost. But I did not recognize her. I whispered, Who are you? And she answered in an anguished voice, Save us. Please save us. I lay trembling, afraid to stir or speak until she disappeared, and after a time, I fell asleep again. I woke much later to the sound of maniacal laughter. It seemed to come from below, and yet it echoed down the hallway outside my door as well. It was a diabolical laugh, taunting, vindictive, lacking in mirth, a laugh that claimed ownership of the house and the night. Someone was in the drawing room, I was certain. Someone intoxicated and insane. I lit the candelabra, removed the chair from against the door, and crept out into the hall, feeling as much asleep as awake, wondering why my feet made no sound even on the tiled floor. I had the strange sensation that I had left my body lying in the bed, and I was floating, a floating spirit, moving slowly down the stair. The laughter died as I approached, but there was a glow emanating from the other side of the door, like flickering flames. My heart lurched. Had I left a candle burning and set the house on fire? But there was no blaze, only the glow from the painting that hung above the mantel. The portrait I had failed to notice earlier, but I recognized it from my time as a governess. It was Angelique, in her jewels and scarlet gown, her gaze imperious and amused. I stared at her, wondering whether she had been the source of the laughter, and her eyes burned into my soul. For some reason, I thought of the Browning poem, That's My Last Duchess, painted on the wall. looking as if she were alive. So now just one more thing. I woke again to a raucous, noisy chatter. The ravens were scratching at the glass, and I could see a fluttering of large black wings silhouetted against the moon. Fear rose up in me as if they were fighting to come into the room, trying to hook their yellow claws on the sash. They jabbed with their curved beaks, and their beady eyes glowed with a sullen anger. A murder of crows, I thought, and wondered if that was what they had in mind. Then, unable to bear the sound any longer, I rose and pulled the curtain closed against the furious battering and lay down again, waiting until their thumping merged with the beating of my own heart. The closed curtains had blotted out the moonlight, but now the room was filled with wind, with shapes moving about, as if a breeze had entered, very cold, that jostled the shadows around me, dark against light. I heard whispers, cold, lisping sounds, and then I felt a jolt. My bed began to wobble, gently at first as though a small earthquake had shaken the house. I lay paralyzed, holding my breath. A poltergeist, I thought. I've chased away the good ghost, and now the mischievous ones are here. Then my feet began to rise. Something lifted the end of my bed, gripped it there, and let it go. It crashed to the floor, the springs ringing beneath me, and I reached for the edge of the mattress and held on. The bed rose again, and I screamed when it came thumping down and my body bounced off the sheets. There was a shudder and a blessed silence, and I thought it had gone, but then again something took hold, and I felt myself rise up slowly, sway slightly, hover several feet above the floor, as though the frame was tethered to the ceiling. I have heard that a poltergeist can tip a bed over, and I strained to keep it balanced and waited, suspended, floating, until it whisks itself away, and I came crashing down. I braced for another jolt, but with a moan the wind drifted through the walls, out the door, under the window, or it was sucked into the keyhole. I don't know where, and then the room was eerily quiet again, and more silent than a cave. So anyhow, that's the house. Back to a completely deserted house, and everyone is gone, and that's the great mystery of the book. So I hope those of you who read will enjoy it. And I also should mention one other thing is that my books are on Audible. So if you don't read, you can listen to them. The first three, I recorded them all, and I had a great time doing it, going back and revisiting all those many, many, many months of writing, and I had a great time. So I thank you for your patience and for being such a lovely, quiet audience. And now we're going to have a big costume ball, right?
Lara Parker, ladies and gentlemen.